Yogi Berra was a Hall of Fame catcher for the New York Yankees, known just as much for his quirky way of communicating as his career .258 batting average and 358 home runs. Here are a few examples. The future ain't what it used to be. He hits from both sides of the plate. He's amphibious. On economics, he once said, "A nickel ain't worth a dime anymore." And perhaps his most famous quip, "It's deja vu all over again." Well, obviously, he had a hilarious way of leaving his listeners scratching their heads. And while that's fine if you're looking for a lighthearted moment, we want to make sure that those we share effective charity principles with don't feel the same. In order to do that, we should remember that effective charity focuses on key concepts that challenge the status quo, like poverty is about more than a lack of material resources. Those closest to a problem are best positioned to understand and solve it. Different needs require different interventions. Development requires challenge. Transformational programs see people in poverty as peers, not projects. And we must measure long-term results, not just activity. Now, each of these challenges the conventional wisdom of relief-oriented, centralized, no questions asked care. That means we'll run into those who are convinced the way it's been done is the best way to get it done. And they'll resist the idea that there's a better way. To successfully engage those struggling with the change, it's helpful to share the following things with them. Specific examples of more effective programs. Remember, there's power and persuasiveness in a story. Understanding the root causes of someone's poverty is essential to help them overcome it. Relief, rehabilitation, and development are all legitimate forms of charity, but they address different needs and must be used with that in mind. Those in poverty must be the protagonist of their own story. In other words, they must be empowered to take responsibility for their part in changing the trajectory of their lives. Now, by discussing these concepts with those who have doubts, they're more likely to see that traditional models aren't necessarily the most effective ones. Another component of effective communication is to choose our phrasing wisely. Key terms like work awakens worth, being with instead of doing for, challenge develops, and transformational instead of transactional. These encapsulate important ideas in short, memorable ways that can go a long way in helping others think differently about what constitutes true charity. Which brings us to our 3 takeaways for today. Number 1, keep it relational. Poverty alleviation is about far more than meeting material needs. Every human being has been created in God's image and is designed for meaningful relationships with Him, others, the world around them, and themselves. For someone to make their way out of poverty to a flourishing life, those relationships must be healthy. Number 2, stay consistent and committed. If I asked you to show me the money in your wallet and offered to give you twice as much, you'd instantly accept the change with gratitude. But while effective charity is in many ways like trading $25 for $50, the emotional hurdle people must clear often requires more than rational, instantaneous approval. That's why we must practice it regularly, communicate it clearly and often, and give people time to embrace a new mindset. And finally, speak the truth. When you're dealing with the truth, there's no need for spin or hype. It speaks to people, eventually winning them over because they'll realize false notions of charity don't stand up under scrutiny. The bottom line is effective charity is true because it mirrors God's truth and the way that He made us. And as long as people are open-minded, sooner or later, you'll win them over. Now, let's go out there today, fight poverty, and win.